influence is everything. So the first thing I would do, I would start my own networking club, environment, whatever, for two purposes. One would be, of course, to build and recruit into my network marketing company. But number two, to really be that person that brings value to the community, right? Everybody wants a guy or a girl. Like, hey, you need something? I got a guy. People come to me for deals all the time. When you are the person that everyone refers to, that influence that you build, and leadership is nothing more than influence, right? Maxwell sells that all the time. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So I would find a way to build influence in your community locally through networking opportunities.
Welcome to MLM Nation, a podcast of leaders, by leaders, for leaders, hosted by Simon Chan. He's built a team of over 200,000 and is now a full-time MLM coach and trainer. So if you're ready to level up your business, join us now. Let's do this.
MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan. I'm fired up to bring our special guest today, Obom Bowen. Hey, Obom, are you ready to make it happen?
Well, I don't know if it's happening is ready for me, but yes, brother, I'm ready to make it happen. It's an amazing Friday. I know you're pumped up, so I'm pumped up. That makes this an explosive time where we're going to spend together today.
Before I share about Obom's background, I just want to share a story how we have him as a guest. And this episode will be a little bit different. But I always believe like God's fate, right? God is a reason for things. And so I met Bowen about a month ago. A month ago, I was at Ray Higgins' Faith Over Fear event, and part of my routines every morning I'll go work out. So I went to work out. Friends, Justin Prince, Jordan Kemper, these are 7-figure, 6-figure earners, multiple 6 figures working out there. And then I went back to the hotel to freshen up, get ready for the session, and I realized that, oh, darn it, I left my key in the gym. So I went back to the gym and said, oh my God, I gotta get back. It's going to start soon. I'm running back there. And then this guy stops me and says, you know what? You're that MLM Nation guy, right? Like, yes. And this is an event. A lot of people recognize me. I have the hat on, the shirt on, so people recognize me. And we just connected, and that was Obom. And the funny thing is, why this is fate is because, number one, that key I got did not work. So I went back to the reason. But Obom actually saw me when I was going to the gym, and he told me, she said that she didn't talk to me. And then he regretted it. And then he said, the next time I see him, but what's the small chance I'm going to see him? I'm going to talk to him. And of course, I forgot the key. I went back. And instantly, connected. We went back. We went to work out, and it was supposed to be a quick workout walk. And I'm not normally like a walker person, but walk for what? 2 hours?
Almost about 2 hours, yeah.
You know what? I normally, the only walk I do, I run. The only walk I do is walking my dog. But that's the longest walk I ever did was 2 hours, just talking. And the funny thing is, Obom was not there for a network marketing event. Okay, he was just there for something else, but we connected, and I think, hey, and he had experience in network marketing, did pretty well, so I had to get you on the show. So that's a long story. But for those who don't know, let me just share a little background. Obom got started in network marketing, was it over 20 years ago?
Yeah.
It's been a while. Still earns a residual income from the customer base he built. But today, he's a business scaling strategist and founder of Underdog Millionaire. He specializes in helping entrepreneurs have 6-figure days and 7-figure weekends with his masterminds. He's an author of numerous books, and his latest book, This Is Why Christians Are Broke, is directly connected with his purpose to have a 100+ year legacy. And I know a lot of you who are listening are faith, but even if you don't believe Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, I think there's a lot of mindset that holds you back from
absolutely.
And that's why we have Obom here. So anyway, I talked a lot, Obom. I just, you're definitely a unique, a special guest, special person. Your background alone is incredible. From being an immigrant, come from Guinea. But share a little bit about yourself. How did you go from, how did you get started in network marketing way back in the day?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much, Simon. First of all, it's a pleasure, and thank you for having me on here and sharing. And that story, as you were sharing, it brought back so many memories, right? You talk about faith, and it's crazy because when you ask, because those are the instructions that God gave us: ask, seek, and knock, right? When you ask, He's going to give you right away, but you have to be the one that's still going to take the steps towards it. Because what you were mentioning, when I did regret when I passed you first, and I was like, I didn't really just want to call the guy out because I know everybody sees folks. I was in that space too, left and walk, and I'm having this conversation in my head. It's just like when we're prospecting something, I'm like, oh man, I missed that person. We talk ourselves out of a deal. So I made a little prayer with God and says, listen, if this is supposed to be, I'm going to see him again. And that's it. I walked for another 2.5 hours, didn't see you. And I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm done. Lord, if it was meant to be, let it be. This is going to be my last stop. I'm going back. And at the very last moment, we crossed paths again. I'm like, I am not letting this dude go without saying hello this time. Like, it's not going to happen. So it's
I
crazy.
I want to add something. It's not, and the loop wasn't like in the track, in the gym.
No.
It was basically the path that Obama and I met was only probably 10% of the track because you went through the whole compound.
The whole thing, yeah.
The walkway is only really like 10%, maybe even 5% of the whole walking trail. But we bumped in back there again.
Well, that's crazy. And which is kind of the same thing. You asked about, my story with network marketing, how I got started. It's a faith thing too, right? I mean, I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17 years old. So I served for 20 years and I got married very early on, 19 with my first wife. Long story short, at about 14, 15 years in, we had a real bad divorce. Ended up to my retirement, got done. When I said a bad divorce, it was a real bad divorce. I got injured in Iraq around the same time. I ended up homeless, living in my car, right, for about 5 years. And a friend of mine shared the network marketing opportunity with me. And of course, like most people in the beginning, I was like, oh, it's a scam. Stuff's not going to work with all this other crazy stuff, right? Then, a couple of years in, I'm sitting in my storage unit that I had in California at the time, in San Diego. I left, retired out from Camp Pendleton, California, had a storage unit just outside from the base. Couldn't even really afford one that had an air conditioner in it, right? So it was like one of the outside one based on zinc. It's August, and this is kind of where my mindset was at the time. I was depressed, suicide ideation. I had gotten blown up 3 times in Iraq. So it was, PTSD, trauma, back pain. I was paralyzed from the waist down for the first 9 months when I came back from Iraq. So a lot of drama was happening in my life. You want to talk about a day of disgust. There was like seriously a day of disgust. So I'm sitting in my storage unit and I'm sitting on a box. I'm sweating, I'm crying, regretting life. And the sad part was with the suicide ideation, I had a 38. I was about to just call it quits. And I'm sitting there and crying. I'm thinking about it. I have 2 daughters from my first marriage. And my whole thing was, if I go, I needed it to be something where they're still going to be taken care of. So it's funny when God has a purpose for your life, bro, how things shift and change. So I call it the seduction. The seduction was me being able to provide for my daughters when I was gone. So in my thought process, it was, if I killed myself, my daughters won't be able to receive my SGLI insurance money. But if somehow I got murdered, then that would happen, right? And the truth was, I'm glad I didn't know that then. The truth was, even if I did kill myself, they would have gotten the insurance. But for some reason, my thought process thought that if I did it, it wouldn't happen. So I thought, all right, great. I'm going to try to find a way to make that happen. But in the process of that mental piece going on, I'm sweating, I'm crying. The books that, in the shed, if you can imagine where my mind is, I'm like snotty crying, all that stuff, right? Where if I was a chick with mascara, it would have been all over the face. It would have been done. But I'm sitting there and then the box finally breaks. When the box broke, out came a lot of books, which I probably should have been reading anyways. And one of the books that fell out was Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, right? So I started reading the book. I've read it before, but put it away. I started reading the book, and that day, things started to align differently. I read about desire, right? And though desire is basically what keeps you up late at night, wakes you up early in the morning. When you have something that's really driving you, and my girls was really driving me at that time. So then all of a sudden, this MLM thing that my friend talked to me about started to make sense. So I reached out to him, and the story wasn't an overnight success. It took another 3.5 years. Kind of building the first company I built with was where I actually got a lot of the training and teaching and development and personal development, met a lot of great mentors, met a lot of 7- and 6-figure earners that I was able to spend some time with and get mentorship that you can't really pay for. That's one of the reasons I love the industry. because you have the chance from the go to work with multi 6 and 7 figure earners if you're willing to put in the work and do what's necessary. It took me about 3 years. Over the first 3, almost 5 years, I think generally I might have generated about $26,000, which isn't that much. It's almost $1,000 a year if you going in, or a month rather. But the second company, things shifted. After about 5 years in the industry, within the first year, I got to a multiple 6-figure income, and everything shifted from there, right? So that's like my initial story. Just like anyone else, I went through the bad days and bad seasons and bad months and learning years, but you have to go through the process. Part of success is you have to suck first before the success shows up, right? So I had to embrace it. And at the counter of success, you have to always step up and pay full price.
What was the turning point for you where you struggled and then you finally, like you said, you suck? You must suck before success.
Right.
What was the turning point where you turned the suck into success? Things started to change.
So the biggest piece with the turning point was I was always held on to this vision. It wasn't working with the first company. I've tried everything I could try. I've done everything I could do. 5 years there. I had some challenges with leadership. A lot of it was my fault too. But then some of it was being thwarted by others I was working with, right? In the industry, like people will just, doesn't matter. The challenge of the industry, put it that way. But I remember leaving that company and I vowed literally, I'm never doing network marketing again. It's like the industry sucks, and it's never the industry, it's people, right? So it was just bad leadership there. And a week later, I end up joining another company. Says everyone who's like, you're done, right? Well, here's what it was. It was leadership. Again, someone I had actually served with in the military, was doing very successful, gave me the opportunity with that company I was getting started. I said, here, listen, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right. But my wife, my girlfriend at the time, had told me, she's like, dude, didn't you just say you're done with the industry? I'm like, yeah, but, and it's that but, and this was the but. I had a chance to start clear, forget everything, start over from what I know, and focus more on developing myself. Because in the first part, it was chasing money. What I realized is money follows value. In the previous company, I was following money, and it doesn't matter how much money you look to earn, you'll never earn enough if you're chasing money. But if you're chasing growing and chasing value, the more valuable you become, the more money actually follows you, right? I remember listening to a lot of the Jim Rohn CDs for years, but that's when everything made sense. When he says, never begrudge the money you spend on education. Self-education will make you the lifestyle you want, but just a regular education will give you a living. I was like, it all starts making sense. So I had read the book, The Slight Edge, and said, you know what? I'm going to focus in these 5 areas: my faith, my family, my finance, my fitness, and the fun in my life, right? I actually wrote a book called The 5 F's based off that principle. So I started focusing on growing and developing myself, and that was a change. Crazy, 6 months later, once I developed, here's what I learned. I started attracting better people. When I say better people, I mean more folks that are developed, more folks that were business-minded, business-conscious, that was actually looking to grow something significantly instead of just trying to chase the money. And what I realized was better quality-minded people was more receptible to building a business. Everything took off, right? So that was really the change. It was finding out that if I build myself, everything else will follow that journey.
You said that you focus on providing value. How do you provide value? So give us some examples, because people may hear that. So yeah, right now I'm nobody. I can't track anyone. I would take that question back. Would you say what would be the first step? Because you say you follow leaders, right? You follow a great leader. What is the first step towards leadership? Is it providing value, or is it something else?
Well, actually, the first step towards leadership is the ultimate leader I follow all the time. Obviously, the example is Jesus Christ. So the leader that serves. Service, and we've heard, I think, Charles Tremendous Jones, Jim Rohn, Les Brown, all of them said it, right? Service to many leads to greatness. That means if you find a way to serve, what I started realizing in my prospecting was finding people I could serve and I can help. So I started considering myself the bridge or the connector. So if I met you, I would look to see if there's some way I can serve you rather before I start asking you about, joining my business or anything else. I genuinely want to help and take care of you, because I start learning after I read How to Win Friends and Influence People. When you actually do, there's a part, I forget which chapter it was now, but human beings have a natural tendency, if someone does a favor for you, they want to do it back as well. So I just became the favor guy and start serving and doing favors for people. And it was easier to build a friendship and a relationship in prospecting, and later on ask them as a friend, hey, can you do me a favor? Take a look at the information of this company I'm building and see if it's a fit for you. If it's not, I'd love a referral. And that became like the easiest way for me to prospect, because everyone loves to give referrals and do a favor. But if it's a fit for you, man, I'd love to talk to you and build something together where we can spend more time developing and helping others, right? That was my pitch for a while. It was, how can I help you? And the same as when we met initially, we talked about, I think within that first walk, I was finding ways to serve you before I even talked about, hey, let's look at something else. So that has now become a part of me, like vibrationally through me. I look first to serve. And then eventually, if there's a way that I can be served, I'll ask, because that person already, in a sense, if we're looking at it strategically, owe you a favor, but I don't want them to owe me a favor. I have hundreds of people who technically owe me a favor. That became a part of me of just being the person that gives. And after reading and practicing from the book, The Go-Giver, I just became that person that gives and gives and gives. And eventually the return is insane.
Yeah. A good example, when we went for the walk, I mean, one of the first questions asked me was, where's MLM Nation headed? Where's your vision for the company? And you start giving advice, right? It was probably until our second loop and the third loop when I start asking you. You were focused on giving consulting advice for my business. And that's a great example of serving. So going back to value, obviously giving advice. What other way you can give advice? What other ways to give value?
Yeah, so I give advice a lot because the person I've developed into now, well, I mean, at the minimum, I took, when I read the Slide Edge, I took that philosophy of just kind of reading a really good book a day. When I started reading was hard. I'm up to about 4 or 5 books a month now. So literally I read about a book to almost a book and a half a week, right? You read, and I don't only just read, I implement and I apply. When you implement and you apply, you become a person of value. So there's tons of value you have. So I never get paid for what I do to the marketplace. I get paid for the value I bring to an organization. I get paid for the value I bring to people in industries, right? So a lot of my consulting clients, like the high-end ones, like Walmart stores, Jaffa Cosmetics, Nice Media Corp, Chevron, Walgreens, so many more, the value I bring them is moving their needle, right? I've been with Walmart since 2009. They haven't fired me yet. So that's a great thing, which means I'm still bringing value to them. So whether it's on a lower level or a higher level, I'm bringing value. I'm always seeking to see whoever I'm talking to, what problems they have that I can solve for them, right? Many times, whether that's charged or not, and 99.9% of the times, it's not charged. I just genuinely give value because I want to be able to help everyone that I meet. So even if I've helped them, I've left a good impression. Not everybody in my line of business now, not everybody is going to be someone I can do business with, but I love having the ability to leave and change someone's life when I met them, right? Even if I've met them once. And I still, to this day now, I have people send me messages like, hey, we've met 4 or 5 years ago. You did X, Y, Z. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I'm in a place now where I can X, Y, Z. Hey, are you open to X or Y, whatever it is? And I'm like, yeah. I just did a deal. I'm not kidding you, Simon. I met a guy 5 years ago. I just did a deal with, it's a very large deal, but I did a deal from a guy I met in Cancun 5 years ago. My wife and I were sitting around a pool. We talked about 2-3 days while we were there. I helped him at his company. He remembered that conversation. And there's a company that needs a merging deal right now that the first person he thought of was me. It was hard to kind of find me. So he did remember my name. So he Googled me and then he reached out to me on Facebook and he says, hey, do you remember me? We met in Cancun, blah, 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 blah. He says, there's a company I'm looking to help with a merger right now. You're the only person I know you've helped me do it. You didn't even charge me anything. These guys are looking for a bridge. And he reached out. That deal is almost closed right now, right? So we've been structuring that thing for the past 3.5 weeks. It's been a really, really awesome deal. But that was from 5 years ago. So my focus is always, how do I bring value? How do I give value? And then all of a sudden, the stuff compounds and it comes back into your life. Here's what I do know. When you do good, good comes. If you do bad, you have malicious intent, all that stuff comes back to you, right? In the 7 spiritual laws, the law of karma says whatever you do returns back, and it returns back tenfold. So if you do good, good comes back tenfold too.
Yes, definitely. And I think I love that lesson about the Cancun guy, because that's 5 years. I think in long term. And I think just being giving, I think a mistake that people make, they give and give value hoping to get something in return. But I think when you're expecting return, that never happens.
Exactly.
Right. But when you're giving freely without expecting return, then serendipitously out of nowhere, when I think you probably least expected, the guy reached out to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the crazy part. It's not the exact company. It's the parent company to a company I've been trying to get a deal with for like the past 1.5 years. Right. So once this deal happens, the parent company, I'm already going to be in business with them. And that piece you said serendipitously, when you give, this is what happens with most people. When you give there is the law of expectation, right? The spiritual law of expectation is that you expect it's going to come back tenfold. But here's what they believe. Most people, Simon, believes this. If I give you something, I have to get it back from you. No, that's transactional. And in giving, yes, it is going to come back. But if you don't give it to me universally, spiritually, who's required to give it back to me? Well, God. Right. So, but he's going to give it back, and it's never in our time. He says it's in his timing. So when I actually do need something, my life has elevated since then. Right. So I was talking to someone recently, and they're like, Dr. O, you realize like you're homeless again. And I was like, yeah. Right. So we're professionally homeless now. So my wife and I, we got rid of our house almost 18 months ago. We still have a bunch of homes that we own and rent out and all that stuff, but the home we were living in, that's gone, and we officially live nowhere. So we're part of the Professional Homeless People's Alliance right now, right? So it's just live wherever you want. But where did that come from? 20 years ago, when I got into the industry, my goal was never to live anywhere, just travel and enjoy the world. Listen, it took 17 years to make that happen. But where did that come from? It came from being able to give and receive back. Because whatever you want whatever you're seeking is also seeking you. And it never comes unless you continue to live life this way. Most people live life this way. They're trying to hold on to everything they have. And if you hold on to everything you have, if I still want to give you this pen, what do you have to do? Open your hands to take it anyways. I live life this way. The more I open, I receive. And it's still the same as I give. And the more you give, the more you get. So we have to be willing to be fruitful. We have to be willing to give. We have to be willing to receive and serve.
Getting back to, I think there's a tie into your book, right? Why Christians are broke. And you can say network marketers. I think it's related to it. Most people don't give. They're transactional.
It does, yeah.
What motivated you to write that book? And how does it apply to network marketing?
Oh, wow. So that's a phenomenal question. So I got to give you a little bit of a backstory on what drew that book in. So in the first company I built that had success, I kind of followed the model of my mentor, right? He wrote a phenomenal book that did very well, wrote that first book and I called it The Philosophy of Success, because I really believe that your philosophy is what drives everything, right? So your philosophy, basically your mindset, it's what you know, how you hold it, how it affects everything you do. So by doing that, once we got to like a multiple 6-figure income building that business, I wanted to convey to people, if you have the right mindset with the right action steps, you can become successful, right? So that book, we wrote that book, there was 72,000 copies of that sold. So I was like, holy crap, that like people really like, and they can understand, this can relate. Further along, my wife and I, we got married. So I was like, I'm never going to have a divorce again. So I'm going to make sure I work on my relationship. And ever since then, it's been 17 years now. My wife and I have been to a relationship retreat once a quarter, so 4 times a year. So doing that and reading relationship books, we've to date have read over 1,000 relationship books and been to over 60 different relationship retreats of our own. because of that, it started to influence my life. Then I wrote a second book called Passion 365. It's all about relationships. We sold over 100,000 copies of that thing. And I wrote my third book, Today's the Day, because that was the one that made me understand that between success and failure, everyone has that day that they can literally change everything on a dime, right? If they would just say, you know what, that's it. Today's the day. I'm done with all the BS. I'm going to do what it takes until the result that I'm seeking happens. And so after all that happened, we've generated enough income. I don't need anything. That needless to say that I'm never going to stop building business and receiving income because I'm an abundant guy. But over the course of the last 5 years, my focus has been gaining a greater relationship with God, right? Because like everything is there. I've just been grateful for it. And over the last 2-3 years, I've been hearing a message from him. Equip the saints, equip the saints, equip the saints. And I almost argued and say like, well, that's what I've been doing because I've been teaching 17 major biblical principles that help me to build wealth in my life, right? I've been teaching that. And then the revelation I got on one of my walks with God says, listen, you are not teaching my people. You're not equipping my people. You are teaching everyone else. Equip the saints. So I'm like, all right, I heard you. When that happened, I realized like my formula is everything that you're trying to change. You first have to be the authority in that space. So in order to help the religious community or the faith-driven community, I decided the same way. To be the authority in that space, write the book that actually explains the whole thing on how you can become successful, understanding biblical principles to become wealthy. And that is not just monetarily. It's through your faith, family, finance, fitness, fun. So the whole circle, right? So I wrote the book on a walk. It was like supposed to be a 6-mile walk, but it ended up being a 20-mile walk. I was tired, done when I was gone. It was just a download. The book is doing very well. We released it June of this year. But how that relates to network marketing is you have most professionals in the network marketing space. By the time you get to becoming a professional, you realize everything you taught was what it was in the beginning. When you get here, you realize it's not so. You realize it's right. You realize it's not about the money. It's not about all this other stuff. It is about some of the stuff we talk about, right? It is about helping people. It is about being a person of value. It is about giving back. It is about all the grand things instead of the problems you have, finding the solutions. So the book actually takes people through a personal journey, understanding who you are, whose you are, why you were here, and it helps you find your gift and monetize it, right? And then the last chapter of the book talks about how do you fight the enemy, meaning the devil, right? But actively, how do you do that here? And there's this phraseology I heard in the industry when I first got started was every level is a different devil. So it helps you to basically that devil is that mindset. What's between your ears? Sometimes we give credit to half the stuff in the problems in our lives to the enemy, to the devil. And that's not the case. The case is we're not taking responsibility. So the book helps us to take first spiritual responsibility, familial responsibility, financial responsibility, so that you can actually build a solid network marketing business, right? So when you get grounded, the only reason I do anything is for one of two reasons only, and that's for leverage and access. If you can't really manage the things you do in life and have access to what you're seeking through the relationships you build, you're going to fail, right? So the book is a very powerful body of work. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to finish the copy I sent you over, but I'm sure there's a couple of things you might have taken out from there itself. But instead of spending, the rest of the time talking about it, because I really can go, that's like my best body of work yet done. And I think it's going to be, I know it's going to be my legacy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I went through a lot of it. I love it. Just from the way it starts out, right? Talking about like, God wants us to be doing well, right? But
Exactly.
it's hard work. Like the examples you give. I like the sports analogy. You talked a lot about the Miami Heat, LeBron James and stuff.
Right, yeah.
And I the quote, I don't know, listeners, you got this, but he said it pretty quick. Every level is a different devil, right? And so true. I mean, thinking about, I think this is something that you just mentioned too. Like when you joined the business, you thought the business is this, but afterwards you realize the business is not. Right? I mean, I guess a simple example is before you join, you think this is easy. I want to be a millionaire in a year. And then you realize, after the 5 prospects, crap, this is pretty hard. I mean, I'll never make that million, right? Because you realize how hard it is. But like every level is a different devil. In the beginning, some of you could be struggling with recruiting, right? Just doing, you can't even sell, you can't even open your mouth. Some of you, maybe you have brought in a team, but your devil is management mode.
Right.
Or your lack of leadership or your lack of service that Obom talks about. So I love that. What is some of the mindset things that you see that a lot of network marketers, because you train mostly entrepreneurs, right?
I do, yeah.
And then experienced entrepreneurs. So what advice could you give to someone who just got started in network marketing? Because I think for me, it's just like we've been programmed since birth to be brainwashed, to be employees. But the end of network marketing, most people fail is that they don't have that mindset. So I would say, what are a couple of things that made major differences between the people you work with, people running 7-8-figure businesses, to network marketers?
Yeah, it's a simple, profound question. And the answer might stun people because they'll think it's going to be a complicated answer. It's not. It's so very simple, right? We have to think about this first, though, right? What makes you, me, let's say some people might not like his name, Donald Trump, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, any wealthy person different than the other person? And it's simple, right? Success is found in your daily routine. So you look at any successful person, I can tell you 3 things about them already, right? I don't have to ask you, but when we met, you were already part of one of yours. And that is, every successful person has a morning routine, right? Don't matter what it is, develop one. Because if you don't have one, then once you wake up, you will be responding to life. Successful people don't respond, they are proactive, right? They basically have a plan, an agenda, and they don't do anything other than that agenda. So that's the first thing, develop a morning routine. The second is develop an evening routine. Crazy how that might sound, right? Whatever your evening routine is. And then have your work routine. Now, if you're working a job and then you have network marketing to throw into it, you have to develop your business routine, right? And that's, for me, how I created my quadrant system, right? I think we might have spoke about that before, but I broke my quadrant system down into 4 parts. The first part is called sleep. That's the most important part, right? The most important thing for us to understand, and you'll hear a lot of folks that says, listen, you sleep when you're dead. There's all this. I'll tell you this, the people who are rich, because there's a difference between rich and wealthy. The people who are rich talk about, you got to grind it out. You got to get this less sleep. Everyone who's wealthy will tell you sleep is their priority.
Yes.
You will never hear Trump, Branson, or Oprah and any of them talk about, hey, no, give up. No, that's the dumb. I used to say things when I was building, like, listen, money that doesn't sleep, so why should I? I had to change my philosophy about that stupidity. Now, minimum, I get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. That's my minimum. Because if the brain loses executive function, that's worse than being drunk or inebriated, popped up on drugs or anything else. Because what happens is your mind, right, your frontal lobe is what's called executive functions. If you lose that, everything else falls to the wayside, and your brain, the executive function, is only focused on what's most important. So it'll start to shut down your body. You'll start to gain weight. You'll be stressed out. All these things just so it can keep you alive. But if you're sleeping properly, your adrenal system and everything works well, then you can get into quadrant number 2, your morning routine. Whatever you do in that morning routine, some physical exercise better be in there, because a healthy brain loves a healthy body, which helps you to think healthy, and then you go through the rest of your day. So if someone has a regular job, you can go to your job. Then after that, you tie into your business routine. Then my evening routine is family time. Whatever I do, nothing crosses those times. It's sacred, right? So for those who, you can put yours together with your own time clock, but mine is as follows, right? Sleep is midnight to 8 a.m. 8 to 12 is morning routine. 12 to 7 is work. 7 to midnight is family time, right? So it doesn't matter what happens. No one's going to break that. Those who know me, that 7:01, don't come talking to me about business. I'm done. It's time for my family, right? They've earned that. But here's the thing. When I put that together, I was kind of struggling going up like this with money. We were roughly about 1.2 million a year against some stuff. That the moment I enacted that, tens of millions started to happen because I prioritized everything. And here's the short answer to the question you asked. The thing that is the shift is you have to learn to prioritize your life. If you don't, you'll be responding to everything else.
Yes. I'm just thinking about that. So true, because, number one is sleep. I totally agree with you to sleep. But I've done it too. Sleep less, and then you actually lose productivity because you're not productive, or you make bad decisions. I mean,
exactly.
Bad decisions, I've even one time sent wrong person money, too much money, then
Right.
or you just don't work, right? So you actually lose a day of your life.
You do.
Or a couple of times, one really bad day takes you 2 or 3 or 4 days to recover. So
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people, like, they give up sleep. No, I think you have to give up, like you said, your priorities, right? Instead of giving up the sleep, look at what you're doing on a daily basis. Maybe you're, under scroll hole, scrolling down in social media too much, or talking to the wrong people. But that's really good. The 4 quadrants: sleep, morning routine, business routine, and family.
Absolutely.
And I remember you talking about that on the walk. I was like, wow, this guy's disciplined. That's really good. And
that's
you have those boundaries. That's really good.
You have to. And the thing is, when this is for those of you who are starting to build your network marketing business right now. If you break your day down into a routine like that, for those of you, if you're married and you want your spouse to support you and you put family time on your schedule, that's how they're going to get to support you, because they're going to realize you are prioritizing them. And what you're doing and why you're building this business is for them. They will be more receptive to helping you do more, or at least help showing up for you, because you're taking a priority and time for them. The second thing will happen is you'll start to attract people who actually value family, and people who value family will actually do just about anything to earn income, like against, breaking their integrity. And that will be a really good way for you to actually recruit someone who have the same values you do. So if you're looking to build a very strong business, you have to prioritize your system, value your family, and you're going to find people just like that, right? You don't recruit who you want, you recruit who you are. So become the person you're seeking.
I love that. You don't recruit who you want, you recruit who you are.
Exactly. But right, listen, when you look at
I would say you can't really recruit who you want. You always end up recruiting who you are.
Exactly, 100%. So become the person you want to recruit, right? People say, I want to recruit, I remember back in the days, you have the 10s down to the 1s. Like, I want to recruit the 10s. Well, if you're a 1, it's going to be extremely hard to even recruit a 5. And you could know the 10, you could talk to the 10, but you cannot relate to that person, right? So that's when, you have the network marketing, have the system where you do a third-party validation through a 3-way call or a sit-down and connecting with a mentor, because they're higher up in that relation or value system. Really what it is, it's they have the equivalent or same values of that person, so they could relate to that person. So you have to become that 10 to recruit a 10. You may end up having a 10 per se in your team, or as we say, like in your downline, but you could never relate to that person. Why? Because they're of a different mentality and philosophy of you. So what you have to do, start reading, become better. Become more. In order to achieve more, you have to become a person of more value. That's the shortcut right there. 99% of business is mindset.
Yeah. And it goes back to where we started the show, where it's like, you join the leader. You say you're never going to do network marketing, but you follow that leader. Because people
follow that leader.
Awesome stuff. Hey, I could talk to you forever, but we got to wrap it up.
Absolutely.
Some quick questions to pick your brain, and this is going to be one line. First question is, what is your favorite quote that motivates you?
Cool. My favorite quote is from the Bible, John 10:10, right? The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but I was come to give you life and give you abundance, so you can live it abundantly, right? So I love abundance. That's the life I live, and that's my favorite quote I live by.
What is one habit that's helped you become successful?
The habit of discipline, brother. I always say discipline is the bridge between success and failure. You got to cross that sucker every single day, right? Going to Successville requires that you cross the bridge every single day of discipline.
I like that. The bridge of discipline, going to Successville.
Yep, Successville. You got to go across that bridge.
What is the best piece of advice you ever received?
Whew, don't quit. And I'll say this, in the industry, at first I received it as don't quit the company. And of course, I built 2 different companies. What I later got developed to understand was don't quit my vision. It might be a different vehicle that helps me get there. But as long as I hold tight to that vision, doesn't matter how long it takes, don't quit.
What would you recommend people to use as a prospecting tool if someone was interested in this 2023?
Yeah, one of the best things I use as a prospecting tool for someone is always growing and developing other people, books, right? So there's books that I love and read. If you're in the industry, find your top 3 favorite books and share them. Of course, one of the all-time favorites, doesn't matter what people are in, is you got timeless books like Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Those are my top 3 books I used to give away to just kind of bridge a gap with people and share with them. So listen, man, I'd love to give you this book. I'm working on making myself better. I'd love you to read it, get some feedback, and really just kind of converse with you and see what the takeaways are. That's the best way to build a bridge as you're prospecting.
Now, what were the 3 books you gave away? Rich Dad, Poor Dad? What's the other one?
So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Think and Grow Rich, and How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes. What is your favorite app on your phone that's not a social media app?
Audible, bro. I read.
What are you listening right now on Audible?
Right now, I'm listening to the Bible, but the book I just started reading, again, it's the 3rd time this month, is The 5 Distractions of a CEO.
It's good. What are 2 or 3 of your books you could recommend for network marketers?
For network marketers, man. So I've already said the first 2 in there, right?
Yep.
Think and Grow Rich and How to Win Friends and Influence People. I would say that, like, here's a shameless plug for mine. You want to really grow yourself? Get my book, Today's the Day. That's the book that helps you to understand yourself and others, because you're in the network marketing space, which is the relationship building space. If you learn to have a better relationship with yourself, you'll have better relationships with people.
I love that. And it is today's day. You can either use it or lose it.
Absolutely.
And here's the last question, the $1 million question. You ready?
Go, bring it on.
Obom, imagine you had to start all over again and build a network marketing business from scratch, but you knew nobody. You didn't know your wife. Your contact list was 0, but you had all your current knowledge and skills and wisdom. What's the first thing you do, or the first place you go to build a business from scratch?
Bro, that's crazy. You started asking that question. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a hard one. Then I realized, like, that's going to be the easiest damn thing doing what I know right now. Right. So influence is everything. So the first thing I would do is just start a social networking space, whether it's going down and just generating to meet people socially in place. I'm better when I'm connecting, conversing, and talking to folks, actually building genuine relationships. So I would start my own networking club, environment, whatever, for 2 purposes. One would be, of course, to build and recruit into my network marketing company. But number 2, to really be that person that brings value to the community. What I know now is that, because I literally do this for a living now, what I know is when you are the guy, right? Everybody wants a guy or a girl. Like, hey, you need something? I got a guy. People come to me for deals all the time. When you are the person that everyone refers to, that influence that you build, and leadership is nothing more than influence, right? Maxwell sells that all the time. Leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So I would find a way to build influence in your community locally through networking opportunities. And then from there, you could recruit.
Awesome. Any last words or advice? And then what's the best way our listeners can connect with you?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Last advice is, if you're in the network marketing space, you're someone who thinks completely differently. You want to be able to embrace that. Right? Because entrepreneurship, if you consider yourself an entrepreneur, the word itself, it's originated in France, it's French. It means one who takes risks. So you're a risk taker. Embrace that. You're taking risks, but make sure you take calculated risks. right? In the current company you're at or looking at, follow the leadership, right? Like the folks who build 6 and 7 figure businesses, learn what their routines are and then start to mirror match that. The best way you can get a hold of me, everybody, I think it's like Instagram and Facebook. It's like top 2 social media platforms. I'm more on Facebook. You can Google me. If you can't find me, you can just Google Dr. Obom Bowen. Anywhere you'll find me on social media and go from there. But I really love helping and serving people. If you become a person that actually helps and serves, you'll find it's very curious that people want to help and serve you too.
MLM Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And today you've been hanging out with Dr. Obom Bowen. So keep up the momentum going on.
Absolutely, brother.
Click on that podcast tab in the show notes with the nuggets of wisdom, also links to his profile, and we'll be right there. Definitely connect and follow with him. In order to be successful in life, in business, and in network marketing, you must help others. So, Obom, thanks again for sharing your valuable time with MLM Nation. We're grateful to you, and we appreciate you for having a positive impact on millions of distributors worldwide. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Hey, what's up, MLM Nation? I'll give you a recap from a great show from my friend, Dr. Obom Bowen. So I was going to give you, I had so many pages of notes, but what the heck, the Evernote, you know what? It just deleted my notes. So, but anyway, yeah, it's all gone, blank for some reason. But hey, you know what? The episode was so good. I want to share some big aha moments here for you, right? I think it talks about attracting better people. I think what most, I just came from Rob Sperry's Leaders of Leaders Mastermind. And what most people, if you're struggling, you don't realize is that people buy you, they buy dreams. You're not selling nutritional products or makeup or whatever, services, whatever. You're selling dreams and vision. That's what you're selling, right? And even like if you have a product that makes people lose weight, you're still selling dreams. You're selling the dream of being healthier, dream of weight loss, right? And ultimately, people, it's their confidence in you. Will they want to follow you? Will they want to buy from you? Well, they're not going to buy from you if they don't have confidence in you, right? That's why Obom said 99% of success is mindset. I actually believe maybe 95%. Some people say 80, but I definitely believe it's 95%, 90% above, but it's 90 or 95. It's mindset up here. Because if you have the attitude, if you have like Dr. Obam's 4 quadrants, right? He's so strict about the sleep. He's so strict about the morning routine, the exercise routine, the business routine, and this family routine, and giving value, right? That's the key to success. You know, my late mentor, Jim Rohn, says, you always get paid for the value you contribute to the marketplace. And leaders, another mindset is thinking long-term, right? Obama just got a big deal there, right? A big deal, not merger, not because, long-term, he met someone from 5 years ago from Cancun, right? He's on the show, I'm featuring, promoting him because he gave me tremendous value, right? He's not building network marketing now. He still earns a residual. And we even get a chance to talk about that, right? He used to go on cruise ships and just people have money and tons of time on cruise ships. You know, when you're talking to someone on the go, they're busy. But on cruise ships, they got all the time in the world, right? And he would just prospect and built a huge customer base from there. But thinking long-term, right? Long-term, providing value, giving. And you always get paid for the value you contribute to the marketplace. So, and what's one of the first steps to leadership is to service, giving value, service to others. That's what he did with me. We met there and we went for a walk, and immediately he started giving advice for me, how I run my business, right? Sharing stuff about productivity tips from him. So that's the key, I think. And I'm thinking about the notes there, right? And I think that's what amazing thing about this profession is that it takes people who are struggling where he was at. And even though Obama's doing other things now, he still collects a residual, so that should build your belief. And this is something he did like over 10, I think he stopped like 10 years ago, still earning income from that. But also it's such an awesome launching pad to do other things, right? Some of you may want to be network marketers for life. That's awesome. Some of you may want to do something different. Like, I started MLM Nation, or Obama doing masterminds for, doing mergers with 7, 8 figure business now, or being an author, whatever it is. It's like, dude, we are in an awesome profession, but you got to grow and work on yourself. Right? And if you want to attract better people, be that person. Be a better leader and you attract that leader, right? And I love what you said. don't recruit who you want. You always end up recruiting who you are, right? Who you are. And if these people are closed-minded, not into it, grow yourself. And you have to think long-term, giving. If you give enough long-term, eventually, just say if you give 5 people, they may not come back, It may take 5 years, 5 weeks, who knows? But if you're constantly giving in your community, doing live videos on social media, take what you learn. And how do you give? Start reading. When you're reading and you're sharing, that's the easiest way. Like I just came back from the mastermind, right? A couple of books about raising kids and teaching about personal finance. I shared. Right now, I didn't get any customers, nothing, but just develop the habit of being a giver and thinking long-term. And most network marketers, we're not taught that in school, but that's one of the keys to success. And I love what he says, discipline. Discipline is the bridge between success, to where you are to successful. And you got to cross that bridge every single day. So anyway, I lost my notes here, but it's really awesome stuff. Go back and listen to it again. And it's taking action. Like today's the day, right? Today's the day. Go take action on it because you're not getting another day back. Whatever happens today, you're not getting it back. So seize the day, apply what you learn, work on just think of someone right now, and I'm doing this myself. Who can I serve? What's something you read or learned, a book? Like when he said he gave out books, that's what I used to do too, Rich Dad Poor Dad books. Because when someone reads that book, change their mindset, they're more open, right? Doesn't mean they're guaranteed, but sharing. Go out there, be a giver. And the more you give, the more will come back to you. But just maybe not in our time. Not the time that we expected, but in some other time. Anyway, that's what top leaders do. Givers and givers. They give and share. And so if you want to attract better people, that is the secret. All right, everyone, that's it for me. Make sure you head over to mlnation.com. Click on the show notes page. You can follow Dr. Obom. Check him out. I'll put his social media profiles there. And make sure you take action. And if you like this, please, a couple of things, subscribe to us on the podcast. Also subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. These episodes are not free. Dr. Obam's extremely busy. And by the way, he's homeless in terms of he has a different place he stays every month. Like right now, after the call, he's in Louisiana. Then he's going to Cancun for 2-3 months. Last time he was in Atlanta. I met him in Florida. He has those long-term stay hotels where he just travels wherever he feels like it. It's a pretty cool lifestyle. But definitely go follow him and reach out to him. Get his book. I'll put the link in there as well. Hey, subscribe. Leave us a review on YouTube, podcast channel. That's all I got. Hey, Simon Chan, I'm loud and proud to be part of this amazing profession. Make sure you go apply and have a positive impact. Serve others. Have a positive impact on someone's life. God bless you all.